Hey Primatech peeps, welcome to this special minisode of the Primatech Files brought to you in association with TVBinges.com. This is a special Bridging of the Gap episode for the Heroes Binge, which is going on right now. We're talking about Episode 1 Genesis and what you need to know about Episode 2 Company Man. I'm one of your hosts, Ricky, and with me is Editor-in-Chief of TVBinges.com, Kyle. Hello, Kyle.
Ricky, I'm so glad to be here on a podcast about a show that I definitely know a lot about.
So, let's get straight into brass tacks. I know you've talked a lot about this in your own Pilot Roundtable podcast, but what do you think about the whole superhero-powered genre of television?
Well, I have to be real careful here because I'm on a podcast with listeners who all, I assume, like it quite a bit. So I'm going to say that it's not my thing. I have taken in my life and in my TV watching a somewhat strong anti-superhero stance, which makes me a great fit for this podcast. But I've famously never seen a Marvel movie. I generally avoid all the superhero shows. I watched Arrow for a couple seasons, but then when it got too superhero-y, like when they started introducing Ra's al Ghul or whatever his name is, I just immediately jumped ship. And so it's safe to say that this is not my genre of television.
Okay, then we might as well get into the next question. Have you watched Heroes before?
Never seen a second of it.
It's going to be interesting to hear your reaction to the episode that we've just watched. What did you think of Genesis? It's a long one because it had one of those hour and a half, 2-hour premieres. So yeah, what did you think of it?
I thought it was awesome.
Nice.
I think my problem with superhero shows in general is that it's not that I want realism in TV. Like, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. Yeah. It's not like that I think Game of Thrones is real or anything. So it's not that I have a problem with like the fantasy genre or fantasy elements. Mm-hmm. It's that I feel like I don't buy into a lot of the myth building that accompanies superhero shows. I feel like a show like Arrow, for example, since that's one of the only ones I can speak with somewhat knowledgeable about. Like when that show introduces Ra's al Ghul, they're introducing him to an audience that they know
already knows him. Yeah,
exactly. And for me, it's not that I don't know him. It's that I don't like that kind of storytelling that relies on you having done external research. Because if you just look at the story at face value, it's ridiculous. It's held together by toothpicks and tape. but people like it because they already have all this backstory with the character. And I think in general, superhero movies and shows often rely on that sort of like, I know who that is.
Yes, definitely.
That's sort of the emotion that those shows are trying to capitalize on. And so what I really appreciated about this is that it felt wholly original, and that crucially the people seemed like people. That structurally this is an insane pilot. This is like, I think there's 5 that I counted, 5 people, maybe 6 who have their own individual stories that only overlap in the slightest of instances.
Yes.
So there's like an A, B, C, D, E, and probably F story in this pilot.
Yes, definitely.
And even the extended running time, like that's hard to pull off, but I felt like all the characters introduced more or less felt like people. I was interested in plenty of them. I liked a good number of them, and I think the way it was written and the way the dialogue was written was really crisp and really human, which is a nice change for this genre.
You'll be interested to know that they originally had 3 pilots. They had one that they showed at Comic-Con, one that they did just afterwards, and then the one that was shown. And a lot of stuff was taken out. There's still a number of characters who haven't been introduced in that first episode who get introduced over the course of the next couple of episodes. It's really interesting to hear someone who's really hyped about the first episode, especially one who's not a real big fan of the kind of superhero genre.
I think one of the reasons I liked it is that it almost didn't even feel like a superhero show, right? There is very, very minimal superheroing in this episode. You know, Hayden Panettiere running into a burning school and jumping off a 60-foot drop or whatever. That is about as superhero-y as it gets, but this is mostly just people living their lives. Yes. And I mean, I really liked the guy named Hero. Who is very excited about it. Like, I like the range of emotions, and I was just very curious about this world, and I felt like this episode just really made me interested in the show, and it certainly felt original. It doesn't feel like anything else, and it doesn't feel like it's relying on any kind of affection for the genre or whatever to carry its storytelling. It felt like a very much a self-supporting story.
Definitely. I think when they first started it off, they wanted it to feel like just ordinary people who just so happen to have these kind of extraordinary powers. And as the show gets on, they start developing more of a mythos. And the original idea was it to be an anthology, much like American Horror Story, but the ratings kind of destroyed that, and they basically felt like that they had to keep these people around, and sometimes it was to the detriment, like they would kill off people and bring them back somehow. But we don't have to go into that. Anyway, let's try and move on to what you kind of need to know for the next episode. So
everything.
I know, right? The only real kind of people you have to know about is the guy with the horn-rimmed glasses, or HRG as he's known.
Okay.
It's basically his kind of specific centric episode.
Was he the guy in the taxi cab?
Yes. And Claire's dad, yes.
Yes, right.
He basically works for a place called The Company, and they kind of like hunt down kind of specials, not in a bad way, well, kind of in a bad way, but they essentially just bag and tag them, which is they capture them, tag them, and then set them free. He's got a sidekick called the Haitian. He's a big black man, and he is pretty much known as the Haitian for the rest of the series until like near the end, where they kind of give him a name. It's really funny because they both kind of have these nicknames, like HRG is just called like the guy with the horn rimmed glasses, or just HRG. And it's a big kind of thing when you kind of learn his name, and then the Haitian, they just kind of fob off and just say, yeah, his name's blah, blah, blah. So anyway, about this bagging and tagging, they've bagged and tagged these two guys called Ted Sprague and Matt Parkman. Ted has the ability to basically be radioactive, and Matt has the power of telepathy. And I forgot to mention the Haitian's powers are that he can stop people's powers and also erase their memories. So whenever they bag and tag someone, they just send them back into the wild, memoryless of what's happened. Ted and Matt find out, or at least kind of remember what happened, and they basically go to HRG's house and take him and his family under siege so that he can try and take down the company. And it's essentially just a backstory into HRG and just finding out what makes him tick. Throughout the whole series, he's kind of this morally grey character. Like, you never know whether he's really on a good side or a bad side. Okie dokie. So, thank you very much for being on here. Hope you all listening enjoyed this recap. You can find me mainly at Primatech Files on Twitter. Everything you need to know about me and the podcast is on there, so just give them a quick follow. Carl, you got any plugs you want to hit?
Just tvbinges.com. Check it out.
I will sign out with Watch the Heroes Binge, Save the World.